Close your eyes and picture a typical Friday night in a bustling American city like New York or Chicago. Outside, neon lights from bars are flashing. The loud honking of yellow cabs blends with the pumping music and the lively clinking of glasses from groups of friends enjoying happy hour after work. The atmosphere is boiling with a massive amount of energy. And then the camera pans to you. You're in your apartment, wearing your softest sweatpants and your most comfortable old t-shirt. You've just received a hot bag of food from the DoorDash delivery driver, throw yourself onto your familiar sofa, and click open Netflix. Your phone buzzes, the screen lights up with Instagram stories of your friends partying, dancing, and living their best lives out there. For a brief moment, a slight sense of guilt creeps into your mind. Am I wasting my youth? Am I being too boring? Or try to recall the last time you walked into an American-style diner on the side of the road on a Sunday morning. You sat at a small table in the corner, ordered a plate of pancakes, a cup of black coffee, and took out a book. The waitress walked over, her eyes carrying 1/3 friendliness and 2/3 pity, and asked you, "Just you, honey?" In that exact moment, you clearly felt the invisible pressure of society. We live in a culture that glorifies extroversion, a culture where, starting from high school, the most popular person is always the cheer captain or the highly sociable quarterback. And in the workplace, the successful person is often labeled by their non-stop networking skills at parties. American culture and modern society in general has programmed a narrow belief into our minds. Going alone equals failure in relationships. We pair the word alone with the word lonely, as if they were inseparable twins. But today, let me uncover a truth that will completely change how you see yourself. The guy or girl enjoying a plate of pancakes alone in the corner of that diner is not pitiful at all. A Friday dinner with takeout and your favorite documentary is not hiding. In reality, you are possessing a state of absolute freedom, a high-level psychological capability that deep down many people out there are craving to have. Before diving into the science, we must draw an extremely clear line, a line that society often confuses. The difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a state of lack, a hole in the soul. It's that agonizing feeling when you stand in the middle of a bustling neighborhood weekend, BBQ, holding a beer, smiling and nodding at meaningless small talk about the weather, but inside, you feel completely empty and freezing cold. You crave connection, but no one truly understands you. On the contrary, solitude is a proud choice. It is when you willingly step away from the noisy crowd, gently close the door, and feel your inner world suddenly bloom. While loneliness drains your life force, solitude is the only charging station that actually works. We are being swept up in an epidemic called FOMO, fear of missing out. We force ourselves to show up at every party, every networking event, fearing that if we're absent, the world will move forward and leave us behind. But people who love being alone operate on a much different and more sophisticated operating system. They live with JOMO, joy of missing out. For them, not having to wear uncomfortable clothes, not having to force a fake smile, not having to drain their energy on social performances, is not a sacrifice, it's a beautiful privilege. However, someone might ask, okay, they like staying home alone, but what the heck do they do all that time? Isn't lying around just the ultimate laziness? This is where neuroscience steps in and hands you a medal. The truth is, when you are alone, when you disconnect from the noise around you, your brain doesn't shut down at all. Instead, it fires up its most sophisticated and powerful engine called the Default Mode Network, DMN. The DMN is a system of tightly linked brain regions, and it only truly explodes into action when you stop taking in stimuli from the outside world. Imagine you're driving alone on the endless stretch of Route 66, radio off, nobody in the passenger seat. Or when you're walking your dog in Central Park on a foggy, early morning, no headphones, no scrolling on your phone. That's when the DMN operates at its maximum capacity. It starts cleaning up the mess in your mind. It picks up fragments of memories from the past, reorganizes the scattered emotions of yesterday, and simulates scenarios for tomorrow. It is the very source of self-awareness, deep empathy, and breakthrough creative ideas. Every invention, every great novel, every life-changing decision isn't born in the middle of a noisy bar. They sprout in the quiet moments at 2 a.m. when the world has fallen asleep. Society looks at it and judges. They are wasting time. But science looks at it and exclaims, they are doing the most important job of a human being, conversing with themselves. Even so, we also need to be fair and honest with each other. Like everything in life, being alone has a dark side, and this is something that psychologists in America are currently deeply concerned about. It's not always healing behind that closed door. Many people choose to lock themselves in spacious suburban houses or high-rise apartments, not because they love the quiet, but because the outside world has left them with scars that are too deep. It could be social anxiety disorder, it could be trauma from betrayal, or simply exhaustion from depression. They have learned a cruel lesson that everyone around brings disappointment. Only being alone is absolutely safe. They turn their homes into an impenetrable fortress. They put on the cloak of independence, but deep beneath that fabric is a shivering heart crying out for help. They aren't filling themselves with solitude. They are being corroded by isolation. The boundary between enjoying personal space and locking yourself in a glass cage is frighteningly thin. If you're listening to these words and you realize you're using solitude as a painkiller to hide from the hurt, then take a pause. It's not your fault. Building defensive walls is the most natural human survival instinct. But remember, in a country that is open about mental health, booking an appointment with a therapist, or simply picking up the phone to call an old friend and say, "I'm not doing okay," is never a sign of weakness. It is the bravest and most resilient action you can take to save yourself. Don't let your protective wall turn into a tomb that buries your youth. But if you have overcome that darkness, or if you were born with a fierce love for healthy solitude, then hold your head high. Psychologists call your state sovereignty, absolute self-mastery. In a society where human joy is often built on virtual likes, on polite compliments, and on the attention of the crowd, you are like a self-sustaining fortress. Your joy is not borrowed from anyone, so no one can snatch it from your hands. You can burst into a hearty laugh over a random thought while washing the dishes. You can feel overflowing happiness just by watching the golden sunlight streaming through the window on a late autumn afternoon, or by brewing a fragrant cup of coffee and turning the page of a book. And here is the best plot twist. Precisely because you are so good at being alone, you often make the most outstanding partner or spouse. Why? Because you are not needy. You don't cling to others. When you decide to put on your coat, step out of the house, and spend your Saturday with someone, it is a pure, unconditional choice. You don't go to them so they can fill the void in your heart. You show up because you truly appreciate who they are, because they add value to a life that is already incredibly full and vibrant on its own. So if this weekend you decide to buy a late-night movie ticket at an AMC theater, one hand holding popcorn, the other holding a drink, casually walking into the theater and enjoying the movie without needing anyone sitting next to you. Or if you decide to hang up the phone to decline an invitation to a loud bar to stay home and bake a cake, then smile proudly. You are not weird. You are not antisocial. You are just living at a deeper level of awareness. You have reached a level of emotional maturity that millions of people out there spend their whole lives chasing the crowd and still can never touch. You have learned how to become your own soulmate. If these stories just struck a chord in your chest, making you feel like finally someone has translated the tangled language in your head, then hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a comment sharing with me. Which moment alone makes you feel that this life is truly worth living? And brace yourself, because in the next video, we will enter a much more brutal battlefield. We will talk about how people who love solitude survive in the modern dating world, amidst a jungle of Tinder Bumble apps and the expectations of a passionate romance. How can someone who loves personal space cohabitate with another person without feeling suffocated? The truth in the next script will make you gasp and reflect. See you there, and thank you for dedicating a piece of your quiet space to me today.